All right, hello everyone. Nathan Hinckley here. I want to thank you for joining me tonight. Looks like there's a few people on. I kind of decided at the last minute to do this live. I was going to just record it, pre-recorded, but I thought I might appreciate a live, audience and live comments. And I have some thoughts about a conversation that I had with my dad. But first, let me just welcome everyone that's joined. I see a few more people joining. So I named this "It's Not That Easy, Dad," and I think there's quite a few kind of topics that I want to sort of get into, and this has been kind of mulling over in my mind the past few days. I almost got up in the middle of the night and recorded this, but so I will just start off by saying that the only reason I mentioned Dad in that is I don't think this story shows him in a bad light at all. I love my dad. I've always admired him. I've always had the goal of becoming like him. I've followed him in a lot of my life's decisions, from becoming an Eagle Scout, from serving a mission, married in the temple, playing music as a part of our lives, just being a all-around just great guy. That's how my dad is. Hello in the comments. Hey, Jacob. So I don't think this story, hello, Ginger. I don't think this story shows my dad in a bad light at all. And that's why I said it's not that easy, Dad. And so just to get into kind of what's going on here. So I'm self-employed. My parents have always been self-employed. Of course, they played music for many years growing up as a duo. But here in the past, I don't know, 20 years or so, maybe that long, they've had other businesses, maybe not quite 20 years, but anyway, they've had vending businesses and they have rental homes and different things like that. So anyway, I work occasionally with my dad, and while we were going through this major religious deconstruction, I actually had some of the most painful and ugly moments I've ever had with my dad, and I'll accept a lot of the blame on that. When you determine you've been lied to for so many years, it comes out in some ugly ways, and I'll acknowledge that. But anyways, we had times of yelling. We had times of just really not great times to be having with your dad. So in all of that, we had our highs, we had our lows, and after most of that had blown over, I was working with him one day, and I said, "All right, Dad, I've got a question for you, and I want you to take some time if you need to respond." I said, and for the record, my parents are active members. I said, if you knew the church was not true, would you still attend? And so we continued what we were doing. We were building a house, and after a little while, he says, "I want to answer your question." He says, "Yeah, I would. I would still attend because I see enough good in it." Fair enough. I took that, I put a lot of thought into that question to him, and and brought it home and talked to my wife about it. And I noticed that my wife was pretty affected by that answer, but that's just the way she sees it and the way I see it. But I respect that is his experience. I think a lot of us can relate to that is a common reason. Well, it's not perfect or whatever, but I see enough good in it. And I don't doubt that. We're white, we're straight, we're men. We have a lot of reasons to just recognize that, there's a lot of good in the church. I mean, we've always been active. We've not always been great at like family home evening or doing things like home teaching and things like that. But as far as active, yes, we've always been very active. So anyways, that was my dad's answer. He said, yes, I would attend because I see enough good in it. Okay. So that was my first question. So I thought about it all night long, and I was going to work with him the next day. And so I said, all right, I want to change the question that I asked you yesterday. I said, I want to change it to, would you still attend the church if you determined that it was causing your family harm? And on that one, he says, well, I'm going to have to take some time, to respond to that. And so as the day went on, he finally said, I want to answer your question. And he says, well, yeah, it's a lot harder. He says, all I would say is that I don't think it would come to that, And so I guess what this episode is sort of about is just me explaining how, in my opinion, I feel like the church has caused me harm, but there's kind of a twist, and if you stay with me, I'll explain that. So, yeah, Tracy, and that's I did appreciate that we had our times of yelling. We're both hot-headed. So we had our times of yelling. I've never fought anyone in my life, but I'm sad to say that this whole experience, I probably came closer to that with him than with anyone. So Dad says, well, I guess my answer would just be, I don't think it would come to that. So as I've thought about it, I've thought, so, does the church cause me harm or my family? And then his final kind of answer or response was, well, whatever you do, I hope that you'll just always have the same testimony for God and Christ that you've always had. So I feel like I have always had a very personal relationship with Christ. Many people still talk about my mission farewell when I got up in front of the ward and sang, "Oh Lord, my Redeemer." A lot of you might know that song. It's written from from a third person point of view, as if she was looking at Christ. It starts off, and the Roman soldiers laughed when they saw their prisoner stumble. And it goes on to say, just to basically chronicle Christ's life. And I sang that, and tears are flowing, and I'm boo-hooing, and I really, felt that. And I still have, not the past year, but I mean, it's not too long ago, I've had people recall that time, and others. that I, have been able to feel and communicate that love that I had for Christ. So, he just said, well, I hope, that you'll always have that no matter what you do. And I, respect that answer from him. Okay. Well, so describing, let me see what this comment says. It can be good enough for him today. Perhaps someday he will begin to recognize the real harm for kids and grandkids to pretend it's true and common. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So to describe, basically, my answer is, for me, the church has harmed me. If we just look at what we've been taught, say, about the Bible, that we've always been taught that, we believe it, but as far as it's translated correctly, which basically meant anything that we find that's not quite right, we can just say, that was a misinterpretation, or, some prophet could correct it. I'll be honest, I do get a little annoyed at some of my Facebook friends who would just, hey man, and they send me a couple Bible verses, just read this, almost as if I haven't read the Bible. No, we know the Bible, we quote the Bible, we read the Bible. It's just been, ingrained in us, though, that it's not as important as the Book of Mormon, and so it's true as far as it's translated correctly. So in Mormonism, that's one of the things that I have kind of just internalized over the years, that, I respect the book, I read it, I've always, used it and everything, but it's just, it's not, the perfect God's word, as a lot of people want to say. So in that, I would say, from one perspective, you would say that Mormonism has sort of hurt me in that regard. I would have people all of the time say, hey man, are you saved? And I would just kind of laugh at this. They would say, I don't want you to burn in hell. Or, every year up the street, there's a church that does a journey through hell. It's this big thing at, I don't know if it's at Halloween or whatever, but it's like, they're going to, you go and they're going to show you what it's like in hell if you don't get saved. And I've never been, but I've heard that it's called Journey Through Hell, and so I've always just laughed. I've laughed at this idea of, burning in hell if you're not saved. And I credit Mormonism for that. My kids have come home, they wanted to know if I was saved at school. And I'm like, kids, you do not have to worry about stuff like that. That is not true. You're not going to burn in hell if you're not saved. Tell them you're saved. Give them your baptismal date or whatever. So Mormonism taught me that. And, I'm thankful that I never allowed that. But that was one of the ways that our church, shaped me for who I am. Okay. Talking about authority, I think about the, who was it? The Brad Wilcox talk, when he, if you don't know this, then you should. And this was, okay, this is actually interesting. So very early on in our deconstruction, my sister's like, hey man, have you seen that Brad Wilcox talk? It's horrible and everyone's going crazy about it. And I'm like, no, send it to me. Well, she does. I listened to the whole thing and I'm still very Mormon, and I'm thinking, what's the problem with this? Like, he's just saying straight Mormonism. Like, what he's saying is what we believe. And so if you listen to that talk, that's when he's talking about other churches are just playing church, right? Like they're just playing church because they don't have the actual authority to do these things. And there's so many things in that talk that were so problematic. He talks about, why are we asking why the blacks didn't get the priesthood until 1978? Why aren't we asking, maybe the question should be, why didn't the whites get it until, 1830 or whatever? Just stupid, stupid stuff. But anyways, the point is Mormonism taught me that all other churches do not have the authority. I remember being told as a missionary or a prospective missionary or whatever, that you would have more authority in your pinky, than the Pope, or, stuff like that. Like just absolutely diminishing any other religion because they're just playing church. They don't actually have the authority to be doing what they're doing. That's what Mormonism taught me. All right, let's look at some of these comments for a sec. The whole of Christianity is built on the premise that you wake up every day and just sin. Then you have to repent. Yeah. Yes, the ice cream truck. Okay, thank you for that, Tracy. Yes, that was one of the analogies I used to use all the time. Used it on my mission. I'm so embarrassed of it. Hello, Wayne. Thanks for joining. So the ice cream truck analogy is if you're going down the road and you hear the ice cream truck siren, little doo 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 doo. It's like, are you going to pull over? And you're not going to. Why? Because he doesn't have the authority to give you a ticket. You might pull over to get ice cream, which I would definitely do that. But just kind of showing how he doesn't have the authority to pull you over to write you a ticket. But if it was the police, you would. So, yeah, that's a very common analogy that we would use to describe our church versus others. We have the authority, they don't. Which, when you live with that for 44 years, it's just very easy to write the others off. That's what they taught us, that no other religion has any authority. And if you ask that now, if you keep asking the right questions, you'll finally get to that. But people want to say, well, everyone has, some good in all churches. There's some truth in all churches, and there's tons of neat little ways to package that up. But that's what Mormonism teaches you. Hey, Ruth. Yeah, it's no wonder the other churches hate the Mormons. Well, that's our theology. That is what we believe. And when I listened to that Brad Wilcox talk, I just sat there and I even told my sister, I don't see what the big deal is. Yeah, he's saying some stuff that doesn't usually get said, but it's true for Mormonism. Oh, yeah. 1-year-old boys have more authority than I ever will. Okay, so going on. Mormonism, we had prophets. We have, the only person on the earth who is authorized to exercise all priesthood keys. How many times have I said that in a Temple Recommend interview? Right? So this is what this church has. The only true prophets on the earth. The only ones who are speaking for God. The only ones who lead his one true church. DNC 130 was my favorite scripture. That the church is the only true church on the face of the earth, speaking, collectively. Everyone else is pretending to be a church. Is that the talk you're talking about? I'm talking about, yeah, the Brad Wilcox talk where he actually issued an apology for that, Ruth, where he says that everyone else is, yeah, just pretending. Everyone else is just playing church was the terminology. Okay, let me see a couple more comments here. Okay, yeah, felt like it was a Ponzi scheme. All right, continuing on. So all of this continued until right about this time. And I was teaching all about the apostasy. This is to a young men and young women activity on a Wednesday night. And I'm teaching all about the apostasy, and there's the prophets and apostles on the bottom, and this church is exactly like Christ set it up, and he's at the top, and, you know, just going on like this with this foundation of prophets and apostles. And in this kind of, what do you call this, just this lesson or visual aid or whatever, you start taking away the base of the church, and what happens? It falls down. And so with me, all of these things, you know, knowing that the Bible is okay, but it's not as important as the Book of Mormon. You know, we have prophets, we have, you know, the only place that is the full truth. You have all of this. And when this falls and the rug's pulled out from under you, you're left with nothing. And so, you know, to answer my dad, when he said, you know, I don't see that the church would harm you. In his opinion, or the opinion of a active believer, I would say I'm greatly harmed. I have very little respect for much of the Bible. You know, we have talking donkeys, talking snakes, walking on water. You know, this stuff is just, it's children's tales. We have so many problems with the prophets and apostles that you know, we had them in our church, but now I found out that they're contradicting each other. You know, it's like, do you see the harm? All right. So one of the things I wrote that actually got shared more than anything I've ever written was about after this flood, you know, in North Carolina. And I'm just going to read a little bit about what I said. I only said a few sentences, but it was shared lots of times. I said, I'm so thankful God kept me safe. We have just experienced the worst flooding of my lifetime in our area. As a kayaker who is intimately familiar with these flooded areas, I am deeply saddened for the many lost lives, homes, and businesses. As of today, there are at least 185 known dead. As I see a few posts of people thanking God that he kept them safe during the storms, I have some conflicting feelings on the matter. Should we really suggest that God specifically kept us safe while others are pulling their loved ones from the river? Did God specifically choose to bless and protect us over others? Did he hear our prayers instead of others? I have a serious problem with always giving God the glory of anything good, but never the blame for anything bad. I don't think it can be both ways. If he kept certain people safe, then he decided to destroy, drown, and kill others. Alternatively, if God does exist, I believe he is not in the business of blessing some and not others. He is not in the business of helping people find keys or healing some from cancer while watching other kids in the children's hospital die, nor is he keeping some people safe and dry while drowning the residents of Chimney Rock, North Carolina, which is totally washed away. There's presently no visible road even going towards this town. It's all gone. God decided to wipe this town out if he decided to keep others safe. I know this is going to be met with some opposition, but it's just the way I see it. You can be thankful all you want that you are safe, but I would caution against suggesting that we are chosen and blessed. God is not in the business of choosing some over others. Okay, so, I had some hate from that, but I had a lot of people say, yep, that's right. I am not an atheist. I do not believe that all of this is just by chance. I don't knock someone if they have that feeling and belief. That's not my belief. But I do not believe what everybody wants to say is God. I don't believe it. And I have walked through a lot of the steps that have got me to this belief. I want to tell you about one more. Oh my gosh. Did not expect this, Lynn, but I appreciate that. That's so lovely. Thank you so much. Let me look around at some of these comments for a second. Oh, hey, Dave. I attend a Baptist church now, and my pastor walks up to all of us and hugs us. And whenever I need an ear, he's there and never puts me down. A far cry from my LDS experience. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Ruth, empty hands. That's what we're left with. Okay. Yeah, Elder Bedar used to be one of my favorites too. Oh wait, there was two different. Oh wow, Lynn Fisher did that twice. Hopefully you meant to do that, and that's not a double charge. Thanks, Lynn. All right, so let me get back to one other story. There's 82 people on here, and I feel like I'm just ranting for a second. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to explain to a faithful member why it is that they would see that I am damaged or that the church has damaged me. So one other quick story. Our oldest son, Hiram, when he was born, he was I think 6 weeks early. Was it 6 weeks? Something like that. 5 weeks early. He had to stay in the NICU for 2 weeks. His foot was all jacked up to the side. The doctor said, "Oh, did you know he had a club foot?" And thanks, Max. And we had given him a blessing through like the little incubator thing, whatever it's called. And after the doctor left the room, the nurse turned to us and said, he doesn't have a club foot. It's just positional, because he was cramped in there. So anyways, we were in and out of the hospital every day. Well, one particular day, we were about to take him home. He was healthy enough to come home. And there was another couple in the elevator with us. And, I was being Mr. Talk to everyone and chat up, and we're happy. We're taking our baby home. And I noticed this couple was quite hateful, quite rude. And, how you guys doing and all this. And after a few minutes, I found out that we were taking our baby home, but theirs was not going to make it. and I found out that it had the chromosome, whatever it was, and that they were there to basically to bury their son. So, you know, I just say this, that we have such a tendency to just thank God, you know, our prayers are heard, while others are just, you know, having quite a troublesome time. And I really felt for that couple. All right. So I told you there was a twist to the story. The twist to the story is that I'm actually sitting here telling you how I am damaged, or that I'm hurt from the church. But with my new eyes, with the way I see it now, I'm not. I'm not damaged. I'm actually free. And I wrote about this, that I feel like the truth, what I see now to be the truth, has set me free. And so I'm actually thankful that the church did all this bullshit it did, that it led me astray, that it lied to me, that it told me that there was a book written on golden plates buried in the earth, you know, and that it's an actual historical book, and that Joseph, you know, and I just learned this the other day, that he had translated even the book of Moses, or he had produced the book of Moses and the books we have in the Pearl of Great Price before he ever even claimed the first vision. You know, if you go in the chronological order, it wasn't even claimed yet. He's telling us about Moses seeing God, and he's sitting here thinking, oh, you know, I could put a story out like this. I mean, it's amazing. And so I'm thankful that the church has done this, because I am not damaged anymore. I was. For a time, that's how I saw myself. And when I was talking to my dad, that's how I saw myself. Hey, Dad, let me tell you how bad the church is, like how damaged I am. But now I say, no, this is how blessed I am, that I no longer have to believe those lies. And so I am free. I'm free to go wherever my heart, my mind takes me, to learn about anything that interests me. And that is freedom. Let's see. That is pretty much all my slides. Let me look at this couple comments. Thanks, Richard. Nick, I'm glad you're with us, brother. I talked to Nick earlier today. About that, since I have 91 people on here, I would love to, Nick and I were talking about this, to do something sort of like what I thought RFM was going to do, and maybe he is doing it, where it is the Mormon Sunday school, where they kind of follow along with the Come Follow Me. I would love it if I have some people out here who know their stuff, because I do not claim to, be the smartest guy and be able to point out every way that the church is withholding things and lying and covering up. But I would love to do a weekly or maybe monthly podcast with someone that can say, hey, here's the things coming up this week and Come Follow Me. And these are things that are not going to be taught. And so, these are some of the things you might want to be aware of if you're attending church, that you can bring those things out. That was one of the things that Nick and I talked about today. And if to do that, I would probably need some help. So if that's you, that would be awesome. All right, I'm just going to look at some comments for now, and we've been going for 35 minutes, but let me just see what we have here. Church history has always been handled by lawyers. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. I always asked if Joseph really would have died for his faith. I don't know. I doubt it, because if he'd known that lynch mob was coming, he would have fled. Yeah, that's a good point. Wayne says, it took me 62 years to have my eyes open after baptism at 15. Still trying to deprogram. We all are, Wayne. That's why I'm sitting up here in the attic. My wife's down there begging me to come to bed. I better do that here in a minute. Let's see what else we have. Wes says he doesn't feel damaged any longer. But I do see my scars that remind me. Yeah. Yeah, the other night, I'm sitting here telling about this poem that my daughter wrote, and boo-hooing, right here for everyone. I mean, I still feel it. Let me talk about that for just a sec. I have 4 kids. 2 of them are married. 2 are in the house. My daughter, she's the oldest. She's a brainiac. Super smart. And I'll just be honest with you. When she was a junior, senior, she was starting to find her voice on just different, whether it was just like social issues. She had always been, she thought and acted like her parents, but we saw that she was starting to find her voice and speak out on things. And some things I'm embarrassed that I would kind of come down on her early on. But if there's anything that I am 100% sure over this whole church shit that's went on, it's this. I have no doubt that that girl would have found out this stuff on her own. And knowing me and how hard I was and how bought in I was, I have no doubt, and I'm ashamed to say it, that I would have treated her terribly. I mean, I have screenshots, I think I have one right here, of just families that are just in shambles because the parents are so bought in, and they just turn on the kids. I think this is one right here that I had shared. Yeah, let me share this. Yeah, so this is posted on Mormon Stories thing. It says, so I finally got my official resignation papers yesterday, and this is what my dad said. Now, I'm going to tell you, this would have been me. This would have been me to my daughter. I have no doubt. Now that you're not Mormon, we would like to start the process over again, and we will send the sister missionaries over. I said, Dad, no, I know plenty about the church, and I'm done. Then he said something like, you know nothing about the church because you resigned. People that resign or leave, leave because they never studied. Just this absolute disgusting bullshit that parents do. I have a folder somewhere that I've just started putting these kind of stories in. That would have been me. And I'll tell you another story. I got 91 people on here. I'm just getting my blood going. I've got my Angry Orchard right here. I'll tell you one more story. Thanks, Ginger. Mike, I don't know that, but I'll look into that. I don't know that podcast. Okay, I'm gonna tell you one more story. So, my next oldest. So to finish that thought with my daughter, I believe she would have she was already starting to like give herself permission to look at some of these things. And especially with social media these days, these kids constantly are being confronted with the truth, but with this stuff. So yeah, she was ready to find this out, and it would have destroyed my relationship with her. Now with my son, his junior year, I think my wife will probably correct me, but he got in trouble with a vape with some friends. They had it there, and long story short, they were passing this vape around, and he had like a allergic reaction or something. He thought he was dying. There was a big blow up because the school didn't call us and all this kind of stuff. Anyways, I get him home, and I didn't hit him, but I talked to him like an absolute dog. And it was just because Mormons don't do that. You know, I never did this kind of stuff. What are you doing? You know, it was this whole family name and Mormons, you know, and I hated the person that I was becoming. I did not allow for my children to be themselves. No, you will be a faithful Mormon. That's what I wanted. And when he got kicked out of school, I treated him like shit. And I've asked for forgiveness since then 20 times. And I probably ought to make it 21. But that is what Mormonism was doing to me. It was a cancer. And it was just, you can never be good enough. You can never do it right, you know, and especially when your kids are young. Yeah, it's pretty easy. It was pretty easy to just breeze along, tell them about angels, you know, tell them about all of these fairy tales, and they just believe you, and it's easy. But you wait until they start dating, you know, non-members, and you're sitting across the couch from a young man telling him that that there was angels who carried the plates away, you know, and you're just sitting here thinking, do I really believe this? You know, that's what happened to me. It just finally came to a point that I was like, I cannot believe this anymore. I mean, I've got scraps of wood where I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm going to tell you this. It has nothing to do with this episode, but I just jotted this down from Nemo the other day. You take the Book of Mormon. There's 14,767 direct quotes from Isaiah. Okay? That covers 21 chapters, which is about 5% of the Book of Mormon. Well, there's another 1,709 words that are paraphrased. Well, that makes up 6% of the whole Book of Mormon. And if you add in, it came to pass, that's another 2%. That's another 2%, 5,904 times in the Book of Mormon. You're almost at 10% of the Book of Mormon right there, just in it came to pass, and it came to pass, and Isaiah. You know, don't tell me that he couldn't have written the Book of Mormon. You know, I mean, all he's got to do is copy his dad's dream, right? Get that out of the way. Pull up some stuff from the friggin', whatever those books were that he copied. You know, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's not a serious religion. That's what I believe. That's what the church did to me. That's the damage it did to me. And I'm so grateful. And I'm so thankful that it did. Oh, yeah. The Sermon on the Mount. Why do we have the Sermon on the Mount showing up in the Book of Mormon? That's not supposed to be there. Bill Rill and RFM just the other night showed us side by side. Bill said, or RFM said, Bill, you start reading that. I'm going to start reading this. Now, one was in the Book of Mormon. One was in the New Testament. They read a whole long verse, identical, word for word. That should not be there. That can't happen. Not to mention that one of them had been translated a couple different times in its language. The other one came straight from God on a rock in a friggin' hat. That can't happen. I mean, the Adam Clark commentary, you guys are helping me out here. Like, this dude's struggling. I'm going to help him out. You're exactly right. Oh my gosh. Let's see what else we have. Oh yeah, I saw that. Oh my gosh, that was so funny. So somebody changed that to "I shit you not" from "It came to pass." Yeah. Yeah, Wes, I mean, I did not like who I was becoming. And, I told you I wanted to become like my dad, and I do, because my dad has tons of traits and characteristics that I love about him. He had a hard time. When my sister left, she softened the blow for me. And, but I would say where we are now, we've all come a long ways. I did not like who I was becoming. The church was just too toxic. Let's see, and replace "very" with "damn." I didn't see that. Who are we talking about here? That was a great episode. Yeah, three nights ago. That was awesome episode. There's 1,800 printing errors. Yeah. So talking about the Book of Mormon stuff. I mean, the things that stick out to me were things like the apologists want to say that he wrote it in that he translated it in what, like 90 days, I think, was it, or 60 days or something. They point out he had like 6 years or something. His mom was saying that he was telling stories that to the family about the ancient inhabitants before the Book of Mormon was ever claimed. He was telling stories about the ancient inhabitants and their mode of dress and their mode of warfare and riding on animals and things like this. I mean, that was what he did. Good night. So, he had been formulating these things for a long time. All right, guys. So basically, this episode has been, I called it, "It's Not That Easy, Dad." Like he wanted me to just, keep believing in God and Christ. And, where am I now? I don't know. It's just not that easy to just, take away Mormonism and just, keep all of this other stuff. It all falls for the same reason. When you find out that the Bible, the Gospels in the Bible were passed down, by mouth verbally for what, like 50 years after, and that I think it was Mark was written first, and then the others were copied. This is coming from Bible scholars, not me. I am not a Bible scholar, but it's just when you start to see this, the very same things you see in Mormonism apply. And so that's why I just say, Dad, it's not that easy. You can't just say, okay, well, I'll forget all of this Joseph and Brigham stuff, but no, you can't do that. Oh, thanks, Ruth. I feel alone in this episode, but thanks for telling me I'm not alone. Yeah, once you see the great and powerful Oz, you can't unsee it. Yeah. Okay, guys, my wife is down in bed all by herself. So thanks for joining me. 94 people. I didn't expect that. I was hoping to at least have one to talk to. I was going to try to do this episode just pre-recorded, but you guys have added a lot. I had something set up for this Tuesday, but this particular person says that she has family members fleeing the fires and that she won't be able to do it. So I am very excited to talk to her. This Thursday, I will have a very interesting guest. So hope to see you all then. Anyways, thanks for all of your support. Thanks for letting me rant. Thanks for helping me to become a better person, because I am now. I wasn't terrible before, but I was becoming a person that I didn't want to be. Mormonism was not helping. And I love the guy I am now. So I'm going to bed. See y'all later.